Hello, Hesh Hurmar. Today we are going to Sweden. I was lucky enough to go to Sweden, to Stockholm, about 5 years ago, and I gotta tell you, it was a great place, great people, beautiful architecture, the way the people dress is amazing. So I really enjoyed it. So I started exploring Swedish cinema, and when you think of Swedish cinema, you think Ingrid Bergman and Ingmar Bergman. Well, the first one was an actress, one of the greatest actors that ever lived, and then the director, one of the greatest directors that ever lived. Same last name, they were not related. So today we're going to talk about a Swedish film, Fanny and Alexander, directed by Ingmar Bergman. So this was the last film that he directed for the cinema. Even though he worked in theater, because theater was his love, after Fanny and Alexander, and he also directed a lot of Swedish television. Fanny and Alexander was originally a made-for-television film, which was 5+ hours long. But because it was so good, they edited the film down for a cinematic release, and the movie is 3.5 hours long, about. So it was shown on TV as part of a miniseries, but it was also released in 1984 as a feature film. Fanny and Alexander explores a lot of themes. It is probably Bergman's most autobiographical film, and the themes it explores is a film that Bergman explored throughout many of his films, which was religion. He came from a very strict Lutheran background. He had sort of a tempestuous relationship with his father, so he explores a lot of these themes in Fanny and Alexander. The film was an immense undertaking. It was 1,200 extras, 60 full speaking parts. It cost about $7 million to make, which when it was filmed in 1982, was a lot of money for a European art house film. So, going into it, he risked a lot in making Fanny and Alexander. Fanny and Alexander won Oscars for art direction. It won Oscars for costume design, best foreign film, and also for the great cinematographer Sven Nykvist. Sven Nykvist worked with Bergman throughout his career, and he's considered one of the greatest cinematographers that ever lived. I won't tell you too much about the plot because I want you to be really surprised and enthralled by it. But the film is really two films in one. The first film is joyous. Look at the colors that the filmmakers use. Look at the joy in the actors, the settings. Everything is joyous. It takes place during Christmas, pretty much. The second part of the film is a direct contrast to the first part. It's, again, an exploration of religious themes and Bergman's life and how that took a turn during his childhood. So I want you to take a look at the contrast between the first part of the movie and the second part of the movie. Also, there's an intermission, so it kind of breaks up the film as well. Growing up, Bergman loved magic, and he puts a lot of magic and the supernatural in a lot of his movies. This movie has a lot of magic and supernatural themes in it, so I want you to take a look at that as well. They're actually a lot of fun, and they're not scary or spooky. They're just really well integrated into the film. I think you will love this film and fall in love with it like I did. This is one of Bergman's greatest films, and that's saying a lot because he's one of the greatest directors that ever lived, and also this is one of my favorite films of all time. So I hope you enjoy Fanny and Alexander. I definitely give it 5 out of 5 stars, and please subscribe to my channel, Juan Carlos Alvarez. Thank you for joining me. It has been my pleasure to talk to you about Fanny and Alexander, and I'll see you next week.